Ndemwe chabe mabanja onanjala mkomo ndalama zonse mutumbalano masukwa kuchuluka pa mutupatu. Time is up, time is up. When you not enough. Time is up for your lies and bluff. Time is up, time is up. When you not enough. Time is up for your lies and bluff. Kanizanu ndizo panda pindu anakulira miseu mwatu tikufuna chilengede chatopano osati mapoketanu opindika ndalama. Listen to the cries, they're louder than your lies. You can't silence the truth. It's time for the youth. Time is up, time is up. When you're not enough. Time is up for your lies and bluff. Time is up, time is up. When you're not enough.Ime is up for your lies and bluff. We rise, we stand, we fight together for the children, for a better forever. When you kunata pano, we take the race. Tikonza jiko. Kwenyu ndemwe chabe mabanja onanjala mkomo ndalama zonse mutumbalano masukwa kuchuluka pa mutupatu. Time is up, time is up. Kwenyu not enough. Time is up for your lies and bluff. Time is up, time is up. When you're not enough. Time is up for your lies and bluff. Kanizanu ndizo panda pindu anakulira miseu mwatu tikufuna chilengede chatopano osati mapoketanu opindika ndalama. Listen to the cries, they're louder than your lies. You can't silence the truth. It's time for the youth. Time is up, time is up. When you're not enough. Time is up for your lies and bluff. Time is up, time is up. When you're not enough. Time is up for your lies and bluff. We rise, we stand, we fight together for the children, for a better forever. When you kunata pano, we take the race. Tikonza jiko.
Good day and welcome to today's broadcast. Thank you very much for joining us. We know it's Friday, but you know work never ends. There's a nation to rescue. Today we are privileged to host a veteran politician, founder of the MMD and the revolution of 1991. You know, Honorable Akashambatwa Mbikusta Lewanika is literally an encyclopedia for recent African and Zambian history. But you know him as, you know, an activist, politician, and key that garden meeting that he held Before I start my program and to my guest as well, I'd like to pass my condolences. Remember, on Wednesday, we hosted Mlenga Mpunduka Pwepwe, and she has lost a niece, her twin sister's daughter, Natalie Mlenga Ogmen Omokodion. The funeral is being held at F15 Comesa Residence on Ron Road in Kablonga. Our deepest condolences for the loss of this young, vibrant lady. I think she was battling cancer and, she's yielded to this cancer. So may the Lord strengthen the family of the Kapwepwes, and also my dear condolences to Woaka. He's been very close to that family. We'll be starting shortly. Honorable Akashamba Twambigusta is already in the studio, and I'll bring him as soon as he's on. I can see that they are briefly connecting. We should be bringing him on. But for those that follow this program on last year on the Conversation podcast, I was privileged to host Woaka, and he gave us a detailed brief history. He walked us from 1890 through the founding of our country, when the British South African Company signed those agreements with, King Lewanika, to the amalgamation of our country in 1911, Northwest, the two territories into one that became Northern Rhodesia, to 1912, when Donald Suwale and David Kaunda, the father to Kenneth David Kaunda, founded the Mwenzo Welfare Society. And we walked through the initial, finding how political movements started in our country. We started with Donald Suwale and Dr. David Kaunda, how literally was the first association or grouping or political formation to fight for African welfare and literally African independence. We also discussed the first African industrial strike, recognized as the first organized strike in 1935, that spread from Muflira, Nkana, Ron. Sadly, we lost 6 people there and a lot were injured. We went to 1948 when the first, African Mine Workers Union was founded, and the name of his father, Aka's father, Godwin Mbikusta, comes up with Lawrence Chola Katilungu as founders of that process. And you trace Godwin Mbikusta in the formation of the African National Congress, and he led it until 1953 when he handed over power to Harry Mwanga Nkumbula. I would encourage you to go to that podcast. It's such a gem of knowledge. But today, I want to focus mostly to what happened in 1991 and now. And when I come back, I should be introducing Woaka. And then we start the program. Oh, wonderful, because the camera kept on going off. I can see Woaka now. Woaka, welcome to today's broadcast, and I would like to welcome you back. I was just telling my audience that I had a gem of recent history when I hosted you on the Conversation podcast, and I'm glad that you're back on this podcast.
Thank you very, very much for welcoming me to your platform and for connecting me with the audience on current issues which are very critical to the way forward.
My deepest condolences, to what has happened to the Kapwepwe family where they've lost a daughter. And I understand you literally had to come from the funeral house to come here. Thank you for your sacrifices and thank you for joining us.
Yes, it's a very sad development of a very bright, tough young lady, very promising, and our condolences to the whole family, and especially her mom and her siblings who were very close to her, and also gratitude and pride in the courage that she clearly showed in the face of her illness, which unfortunately has led to her loss to us.
Yeah, thank you very much. Our country faces crossroads. I think similar to epochs that you can trace, like the one we're saying, 1912, from 1890, 1912, 1924, 1935, 1948, 1953, then the 60s, 64, 68, 1991. We seem to be facing an epoch of the country. We are a multi-party democracy, but things appear to be falling apart. We seem to be going back to dictatorship. And that's why I was privileged that I should bring you on, that you can walk us through. Is what we are seeing what it is? Is what we are seeing what it is? What is your feel of the state of the country right now?
I feel that we now have heightened manifestation of proof that the independence movement did not go very far, did not go far enough. We are witnessing manifestations which indicate clearly that our struggle to return back the country to multi-party has failed. The mentality, the governance practices, and the social and economic impact is showing us that we need to go back to the drawing boards. And also it is an opportunity for us to retrace our history for lessons, both from successes and failures, and shortcomings in the steps that we were trying to take going forward. It raises questions of the political system we have adopted since independence, its inadequacy as a channel towards genuine decolonization, and also the economic system we have adopted, which is just a variation, if not a deepening, of the colonial economy, in which we are producing what we don't consume, consuming what we don't produce, and being exploited in the process, and being exploited in a manner that weakens our hand in terms of self-governance. And we are witnessing a situation where we have to really review the original agenda of African aspirations for freedom, justice, and equality. African aspiration to regain our command over our land and natural resources, to regain our power over our self-governance, to regain the self-determination of the path of our development, and also to bring forward our people, ourselves, into a society which enjoys freedom, justice, and equality for everybody without any group domination, without any group exploitation, and without people tinkling with our governance system for personal advantages, for sectional advantages, for short-term rather than long-term advantages, for narrow interests rather than broad national interests. So we are indeed at another crossroad, and there is much that we can learn from the past, and the lessons are very, very clear. It's a question of deciding to take them and to take them forward. Going forward, We require what we have always required in this process of African freedom. We have required citizens and leaders who are prepared to sacrifice in order to save the general interest, who can put aside their personal ambitions and personal interests, sectional interests, and grasp the broad interest so that we can move forward together. We are challenged to learn the lessons where our mobilization of our people, our organization of our people on the path to freedom have fallen short. And this is the challenging moment. So it is dark, but I think, as they say, it gets darker just before dawn. And I believe that we are in the darkest period of our independence, but looking forward to a brighter dawn, a genuine dawn going forward, if we are brave and honest enough, if we are loving enough, if we are nationalist enough, as the moment calls for.
I compared this to 1990, 1991. Clearly, there was a very strong leader in Dr. Kenneth Kaunda who was overbearing and over-dominating, and he had these loyal supporters everywhere. You'd think that he was very popular. He just came from an election in 1988 where he swept that election, although he was a single candidate. So the discontent that
he won the election in the proportions that are being claimed in our neighboring Tanzania, using the same method.
Correct.
Let's not cross the Lake Tanganyika. Let's go back.
At the discontent that was raised against him in 1990, and the entire system felt like a house of cards. You were at the epicenter of that revolutionary storm. How did you gather the courage, and how did you recognize that the facade that you were watching on ZBS, now forerunner to ZMBC, the facade you were watching in the street that Kaunda was popular was fake, and you decided that you needed multi-party democracy? At what stage did you discern what the real feeling of the people behind the propaganda was?
I think we didn't doubt his popularity, but we could not be stopped from fighting for freedom on account of a popular countervailing force. And I think it's very, very important it required courage, and it required audacity. And I think it required a spirit of youth. It required a self-sacrificing spirit of recognizing the supremacy of the national cause at any cost, the need to grasp it. It also required a positive response from the population, which then were able to carry us forward. I think winning or succeeding was not assured, and we did not go forward because we were assured that Dr. Kaunda and UNIP is weak. We were not assured that we would not be arrested. We were not assured that we would win, but we knew we had a just cause. Right now there is a just cause to retrace our steps, to make sure that the promises of independence, of decolonization, are fulfilled, to make sure that the promises of freedom is fulfilled, the promises of returning the country to a multi-party system is fulfilled. It is within our hands, and we must strike fearlessly. We must not be scared of what may turn out to be just an illusion of power. The power is always laid in the hands of a people who are organized, a people who are working in their common interests rather than their self-interest. Our powerlessness is related to how we get divided, particularly at leadership level, on account of personal ambitions, on account of selfish ambitions, on account of non-nationalist agendas. So we are challenged once again to recapture the national agenda and make it at the forefront. That is what enabled us, that because we put forward an obviously nationalist agenda, it was not aiming at any part of the society losing. I often guide people to that every now and then it's necessary for us to question what makes a political program nationalist. And what makes it nationalist is that if it is achieved, it's to the benefit of everybody. When we achieved independence, it was to the benefit of everybody, including people who differed in their tactics, in their objectives, even in their ambitions. Once independence was achieved, all of us became beneficiaries of it. The same with the return to multi-party democracy. Even hardcore one-partists who were against multi-partyism, once it was reintroduced, they enjoyed exactly the same freedoms as everybody else, to join or not join, to form or not form political parties of their choice. So that even going forward, we must be very, very clear that we must identify a national agenda, which means no harm to anybody. Even those who lose should benefit from it. The freedom that is necessary, the development that is necessary, the governance system that is necessary is for the good of everybody. And we ensure that is for the good of everybody by ensuring that we are creating an environment in which everybody participates in defining it. And this brings back to the current situation, where another of attempts is being made to molest our constitution for personal and partisan reasons. And that's why it will fail. That's why it cannot satisfy. And that's why it must be fought against. I think the lessons from our organization of the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy in 1991 is that we need to reach out broadly and consult broadly and send out a call broadly for people to join this endeavor and to ensure that it is their endeavor. One of the key lessons we have to look at in the way the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy was organized in 1990-91 is the fact that it was owned by nobody. It wasn't, people who came forward owned it, and everybody who came forward owned it. We didn't have a situation where we first chose a president, then built an organization against the president, and then moved forward. We first identified the agenda, and then looked for a team which could pursue it, and then reached out to the people to participate in the choice of leadership and in the choice of the new system. That, I think, is a very important lesson. I say that because my observation currently is that there is a danger of personal ambitions derailing this opportunity to move forward on account of some people thinking that the whole task on hand is to make someone a president. And there are people who think it's either the opportunity to be president should be given to them or nobody else. That spirit is not going to take us forward. We need a spirit of give and take, a spirit of being prepared to serve this cause wherever we are cast, wherever we find ourselves, without necessarily assuming that you could only serve the cause by being in a particular position at a particular time, and that time has to be now.
Waka, you have just stated something very fundamental, that among the issues of serious concern is the issue of the governance issues. There are human rights abuses, accusations against President Hakainde Hichilema, the threats that he has done to institutions of democracy, parliament, the judiciary, electoral commission of Zambia, what is happening where they are attempting to steal the patriotic front or they have stolen it. And you have said something very important, that there are these schemes to molest the constitution. Now, those are very strong words. Just elaborate about this constitution-making process and just what you find irregular about it.
What I find irregular about it is that they are repeating the playbook of constitutional molestation that has been taking place in Zambia from the very beginning. And the playbook indicates that you utilize your over-centralized presidential powers in order to propose a process of constitutional amendment which has a predetermined outcome. And then the process itself remains tightly under your control. That even if people go out in a commission or a technical committee, even if they reach out and discuss with people, the report that they come up with is to the president and his cabinet. And they have the freedom under the Inquiries Act. And even without the Inquiries Act, under present circumstances, they have the freedom to pick what of that report to accept, what of that report to enact as an amendment to the Constitution. And that pattern has continued. It was there during the introduction of the one-party state. During the introduction of the one-party state, again, we have to look not only at the proposal to molest the Constitution or the proposal to change the Constitution. We have to look at these proposals in the context of the political environment. What other things are happening? In 1972, first and foremost, we go back to 1969, that in the lead-up of creating the environment that made the derailment of democracy possible in 1972, they removed the power of the people as a whole over the Constitution by removing the mandatory provision in the original Constitution requiring a referendum of consulting all the people in any change to the Constitution, and take those powers from the people to a parliament that is partisan, a parliament that is under the thumb of the presidency, in fact the personal presidency as well as the collective executive, and therefore a parliament that is user-friendly in the task of molesting the Constitution in their favors. The playbook also tells you that in addition to your real genuine motivation and your hidden agenda items, which you list there, you should add some sweeteners, some goodies that will be attractive to sections of the society, that will make them want to say yes. But when you say yes, you are not saying yes selectively. You are saying yes to the total package, which includes provisions that are aimed towards securing the presidential tenure of somebody, securing the governance administration of one party against others, that are designed to make it difficult for any alternative parties, any alternative leadership, any alternative program to be able to to come out on top. So this playbook was repeated in 1993-95 when we had the Mwanakatwe Commission, that you can imagine the scholar like Mr. Mwanakatwe, in his book, he even indicates that he was not very comfortable being appointed chairman. He wanted to make sure that he's given a chance to look at the terms of reference, that he's given a chance to look at the commissioners being suggested. In the case of the other technical committees, the other commissions, the chairmen did not even demand that. But despite demanding that, and despite his demand being met, that he was given the terms of reference, he was shown the list of commissioners, he satisfied himself that he could work with that. And when he applied himself to bring up a report that even took into account some of the proposals that were dropped in 1972 and come up with these big proposals. Out of that proposal, the only selected item to be implemented had to do with qualification for candidature of the presidency, rather than the totality of the needs of reforming the constitution. And it was the same in the other attempts at this selective reforms of the constitution. So the other culprit that I see, which is a repeat, is this tendency to select rather than to look at the constitution in totality. I had mentioned before I forget that these specific selected items, some of them on the face value are good, but within them are cancerous ones, which leads to the terminal effects on our democracy. But more importantly, you should also look at the environment. I was saying that it's the old playbook. Having removed the referendum clause in 1969, in 1972, February, it happened to be on my birthday, the United Progressive Party was banned. So even ahead of creating a one-party state, the United Party, which was led by Nalumino Mundia, was banned in 1967. The United Progressive Party was banned in 1972. So that even by the time the commission was established, the Chona Commission, the groundwork, the environment of political freedom was already being curtailed. And before that, the political leaders were being arrested. Does that sound familiar with today?
Yeah.
That you are restraining political parties. I was just re-looking at the changed regime of how you form political parties. It is harder today to form a political party than it was in the one-party state, transition from the one-party state. So instead of making it easier to establish political party, it has been made harder. And I'm told that the names of officials being submitted to the government as leaders of new political parties which are seeking legislation are being used for the state apparatus to follow up those people and terrorize them. If they happen to be school teachers or happen to be contractors selling beans to schools, they find that their livelihood is being threatened. So it has become very, very difficult. So that the items being changed in the Constitution should be read together with the environment of suppression, the environment of terror that is mounting in the country ahead of the changes that are being proposed. So don't just look at the select items, some of which may sound good, some of which are obviously ill-intended, but all of them are being put forward in an environment that itself tilts the country against democracy, against freedom, and against justice, and against equal treatment even before the law. So those are some of the lessons that we have to learn from history, to be awake, to be alert, to be vigilant, not to be fooled by the application of tricks that have already been used over and over again for the same purpose.
Yeah, government has been pushing that this constitution and the constitutional amendments is meant to empower marginalized groups such as women and youths and persons with disabilities, and that they are attempting to address, legal lacunas that exist in the constitution, and that, they want to provide inclusivity to the process before we go to elections. But NGOCC, Caritas Zambia and others have immediately rejected this process. Number one, it doesn't have any legal framework guiding it. Number two, the president gives terms of reference that gives them and mandates them just within 1 month they should come up with a draft constitution by 26th November, and it should be submitted to probably cabinet and then parliament. This process, despite the opposition from major stakeholders, President Hakainde Hichilema appears obstinate to proceed with it. And if you look before, you have the Constitutional Court that nullified the process, called it not only irregular, that the president had breached various constitutional provisions that go to the constitutional making process, because it's a document of the people. What do you take of this obstinacy, despite the opinion of the people, to just proceed and barrel through? And I want you to mirror it, because we've seen this stubbornness, in the last 5 years, which has now caused, even in some cases, state failure, demonstrations on the street. If you take the Kenya issue, people were opposed to the issue of the new laws on taxes, but government was obstinate and they proceeded until there was an eruption of Gen Z on the streets. You go to Madagascar, for months the people of Madagascar were complaining about load shedding, and government seemed insistent, and it has resulted in the change of literally government in an irregular and unconstitutional manner. Look at our neighboring Tanzania here, where we are grappling with this crisis. The woman celebrated as first woman president, your dear sister, she banned political parties, locked up her major opponents, manipulated the Independent Electoral Commission and barreled through to elections. And now she's said to be scoring as high as 84%, but at the expense of literally breaking that country and making a historical party like Chama Cha Mapinduzi lose elections. Politicians, don't seem to learn even from what is happening in the region. What do you make of this?
Well, I think for Zambians, Zambians are lucky because of the nakedness of the situation that should allow them to take action. You see, you don't need to have the knowledge of a rocket scientist to understand that if the items that are being recommended to be changed in the Constitution, the list of those items is published weeks and months before the terms of reference, then it's quite clear that the goal is predetermined. It is quite clear that the terms of reference are just a show, as you know, as you have referred to. They are just a reaction to the court judgment that was going to block this whole process. But the fact that the outcome is announced before the process is announced. The timetable, we have had 61 years of living with a constitutional regime that was begging to be comprehensively reviewed immediately after independence. And then someone suggests selective amendments to it to be done within a timetable that you have mentioned. That again is a telltale sign of a desperation for a goal which is not national. Because a nationalist goal must involve the people and must be inclusive of the patience to allow for the fullest consultation, the fullest contributions, the fullest re-examination of what is being proposed by as many people as possible. It should not be a matter of time. Also, another part of the playbook that is being repeated is this attempt to change constitution on the eve of elections, which has another telltale sign that the purpose has to do with elections. It has nothing to do with lagunas, or there are so many lagunas with the neglected populations. Those are fake excuses. The other day I was saying that let's look at Namibia. They didn't need those sort of constitutional change in order to have a female as president, a female as prime minister, a female as speaker. So the participation of women in our politics, yes, it forces many hurdles, some of which need to be considered in our comprehensive constitutional review. But despite that, the room for women to play their part that exists now has not been exhausted. A political party that seriously wants to increase the number of women in parliament, for instance, has already a ready starting point on the list of their nominees. They can make sure that 75% of their nominees, if they are more serious than anybody else on the participation of women, are women. They can engage other political parties how to make sure that you don't have a situation where the women put forward as candidates are only running against other women. That can be a matter that can be considered. The need to consider young people who have problems, economic, social, educational problems, cannot be a question of a rushed constitution. Those are just goodies on the assumption, which might even be a stupid and assumption, that if you put forward a proposal that increases or reserves seats for women, then those women who take advantage of that will vote for you. They may not vote for you. They may not vote for you. But the point is that it reveals a motivation of trying to have advantage, trying to get credit, which will lead to electoral advantage. That is really what people should be happy, that this sort of malgovernance, ill intentions, are there being displayed in the open for people to see. They are not hidden. They are not difficult to see. And they should not be difficult to react to. All that is required is for people to put aside personal ambitions, to put aside personal and sectional interests, and put forward a national interest that is win-win for everybody, men, women, youth, and everybody at the same time, not selectively as is being proposed now. So that is really my response, that in a sense I welcome the crudeness of this attempt to repeat the playbook of molesting our constitution, in the hope that its crudeness will make it easier for our people to understand the game and to understand that the ball is being kicked to them. So we have to take up the ball now. It is visible and it should be under our control, and it should lead to a goal of advancing the freedom struggle, of democratizing Zambia for real, decolonizing Zambia for real, and empowering people for real. There are other challenges in this constitution, the present constitutional regime, which even fall short of the stated objectives of the United National Independence Party. I don't know your generation, Emmanuel and company. You, I know you've read Humanism Part 1 and 2. But in Humanism Part 2, there is actually a chapter which lists central government responsibility, central government ministerial responsibilities that should be taken down to the local government. And despite that pronouncement, and despite the changes in 1991, we have not created a genuine local government structure. What we call local government, these councils are extensions of the central government. Financially, they are tied to central government. Decision making, they are tied to central government. Even the CDF, which people are trying to get credit that it's taking money to the lowest rank, it's money being taken to the lowest rank while it is in their hands. The decision whether to make desks or not is being made in Lusaka, not in Mungu, not in Kasama, not by a local council. And the only change that happens that once the money is shifted the way they are shifting it now, the control, the accountability is loosened. And theft is rampant. Partisanization of how this money is being distributed is rampant because the traditional accountability system that have existed in the civil service are stronger at the central government and non-existent at constituency level, where the loot is being taken and legally stolen.
True. I've always stated that CDF is a looting frenzy, and it has nothing to do with decentralization, because decentralization would empower districts and district plans to develop those.
Yes, because an empowered local government system has a budget of its own.
A looting frenzy.
Yes.
Yeah. Now,
yes.
I want to bring you to this question. You hinted on it already. There is no doubt we can catalog details of the crisis our country faces. Economic, political, social, even the fabric of our unity is threatened. The leadership is hell-bent, for example, in amending the constitution, in destroying, the multi-party character of our country, which you fought so hard, because never would anyone imagine that political parties would be stolen. The state of our economy in deep crisis and the solutions so far proposed will not literally get us out. This association with the IMF and all. If you look at every angle, our politicians, leaders in the opposition are very excited because you have a cost of living crisis and our people are groaning and grumbling and crying. Leaders think, therefore, they'll be the Messiah, that, the fabric of our unity is threatened. They now can think they can just step up and say, one Zambia, one nation, and they can be our leaders. You've seen a similar situation in 1996, 2001, maybe 2006, where there's a great, grand opportunity for the opposition to change the status quo, and they just squander it because of personal ambitions and failure to unite, for one sense of unity and purpose. What would be your advice to the opposition? And so that they do not miss this opportunity, because
I
President
think
Hakainde can win this election not because he wins. It may be like Levi Mwanawasa, who won by 28%, 29%, yet the opposition got 71% and didn't get the power. What would be your advice?
Yes, I think the first question is that those who say they are in opposition, they are opposing what? Because it's not being in opposition simply wanting to be the next president. Because the system of having a president is already intact. There will always be one native who will be president. So that is not a change. So that I think we have to ask those who are saying they're in opposition, what are they opposed to? And more importantly, what are they for? What change are they aiming to do? The changes that are required in our situation are such that they require our people to be organized for a purpose which is national and which is comprehensive. So our political actors are challenged to identify a thoroughly, comprehensively defined objective for change. We have had changes of ruling parties. We have had changes of presidents. That clearly is not enough. However necessary that may seem to be at the moment, if that's all you achieve, then you are going to reproduce the same problems, except the personalities may change, but the governance structures, systems, and the development impact will not change. And so it is very, very important that we start hearing articulation of a comprehensive program of change, radical program of change, which is not only radical but comprehensive, not selective. And in fighting for or against the present government, one lesson of history is that we must fight with clean hands. If you are going to fight against corruption, but your hands are dirty in corruption, please take a back seat, because you are going to spoil the struggle. We need credible people. If we are fighting against corruption, we need people with the credibility of not being corrupt. If you are against negative ethnicity, we need people to come forward with no records of negative ethnicity, so that when we win, it is not said that one ethnic group has lost, because then we are perpetuating the situation that has led us to where we are. The sense that people have a historical grievance of having been marginalized or denied and so on, so that we have to fight to a stage where we have a win-win situation. And nobody should feel that the change that has come has been unfair to them or made their situation worse than before. So that it is very clear that, one, we must have a national agenda. There is that song that now that we have love, what will we do with it? And I think we have had a silent song that now that we have independence, what will we do with it? We haven't done very much to consolidate it, because we have not used it to decolonize. Now that we returned the country to multi-party, we haven't done much, because the value of the vote, the value of political parties has not been cashed in. The other problem that I'm seeing in the environment is that we are victims of a development where political parties are being formed ideologyless. If they were honest, they are being formed purely as channels for personal ambitions. And these are personal ambitions to put themselves or selected people in leadership position for a program that is not clear. So that this is really a challenge that we have to make sure that it is well defined. In this endeavor to do that, we must also be realistic enough that we will not reach a point where all selfish, personal ambition-driven politicians will go out of the scene. That then we will have one opposition presidential candidate and nobody else. There will be spoilers. That we must be alert. So my warning to those who are trying in earnest to consolidate an organization, whether it's alliances or broadening of political parties, to define a national agenda that is required now, and to constitute a national leadership team, and with its flag bearer, who are honestly looking for that. They should limit the time they are wasting looking for everybody to come on board. There will be spoilers. So if you know people whom, when you gather together to say, let's try to work together to select one team, one flag bearers, before you go any further your agenda item number 1 at such meeting should be asking each other that can those who are prepared to continue in this team, on this team, whether they are the presidential candidates or not, raise their hands. And those that don't raise their hands, take them out of the equations. 1, they are not going to go along with your idea. 2, should they perchance be elected, then the mentality that made them think that it's me as president or nothing will then mar the future and will not provide the sort of democratic space-finding leadership that we need to go over the hurdle we have failed to go over of constituting a truly democratic constitution or regime, rather than just have a multi-party system in which there are many party players but without any ideology. That is another big challenge.
Boaka, that reminds me of 1991. How many invitations did you send out and how many came? Because you were literally doing almost an act of what would be perceived as treason. Did you wait to have enough quorum to proceed with the meeting? How did you deal with these issues? Exactly what you are saying, that you cannot wait for everybody. How many invitations did you send out? How many came? And from the first meeting, how many fell out? And how many did you then proceed
first
to
of
make
all,
this movement?
we started with a very grand idea of a big national conference. We even selected where it was going to be. It was going to be in Livingstone. I was already drafting what was going to be the Mosotunya Declaration. We were expecting masses of people to gather. We were expecting to have the resources to manage that. But after the scare of the coup attempt, I decided, together with my colleagues, that we don't have time. If we don't have enough money to go to Livingstone, let's not go outside Lusaka. If we don't have enough money to go to Intercontinental, let's go to the smallest hotel that will have us. And that's how we chose Garden House. I broadcast on Radio Deutsche Welle, BBC, America, and funnily enough, even my press statement were printed in the Daily Mail, in the Times of Zambia, and of course in the National Mirror, which was the only independent newspaper around. And I traveled, starting with my colleague Mbita Chitala, from Livingstone to the Copper Belt, addressing press clubs, addressing trade unionists, addressing chambers of commerce members, addressing small-scale industrial association members, cooperative members, in order to try to mobilize people to come. But as the time was tightening, we just decided to set a date and hope for the best. And the horror that we may go to an empty hall was there with me all the time. I remember that when I got to Garden House, I found that the room had not been prepared for us. I had managed from my own pocket to pay half of the money they wanted. It was 26 something, since we've devalued so much. They wanted 50 something kwacha. and I provided half of that. And we had agreed that they'll start setting up, we'll pay them on the day we come. I found they hadn't done, because the owner of Garden House at that time, Theo Boo, was in London, and he had received a call from the Zambian intelligence system warning him that his hotel was being abused by subversive elements. So he phoned his office, his managers, to say, please don't allow those people. So when I got there, I had to convince them that, one, you've already taken my money. Two, we are not subversive. Three, you've heard that the president has set up a commission and the Deputy Chief Justice in Glube. So they are making us that, which is already official. So fortunately, they bought that story. And then Edith Nawakwi, my late comrade, was the first one to come in a taxi. She found that the hall was not arranged. So she, together with the workers and myself, we started setting up. Then I told her the bad news, that I have not raised the balance of the money. Then she, being a business lady, she is, I always mention this, that she immediately thought something, me being socialistic, didn't think of, that let's set up a desk at the door. So as people come, we ask them to donate. So that's how it was organized. For hours, an hour or two, people were streaming, others were coming, looking and go away. It was 11:30 or so. By that time, at least we had about 100 people. Then by the end of the day, the hall was full. It was over 400 people. By the following day, there was no room in the hall. And Zambians had sparked. I had never known Zambians to be brave people. And they spoke openly and demanded the multi-party democracy openly. So, and the other aspect I was saying that we have to appeal to the people is that, yes, we did go to Garden, we did speak on radio, we did make the announcement, but the key to progress was the response of our people. Wherever we went outside Lusaka after that, we found that people had already self-organized themselves. They were just waiting for us to come, more or less to shake our hands and to assure us that they are with us. So apart from the spark that we think we lit at Garden, people were lighting their own spark. I'm saying this, that is what is required now. Don't wait for people in Lusaka to come and buy you and organize you. Share in defining the national agenda to the next stage. Share in making it possible, facilitating it and organizing it. When we were touring after Garden, sometimes we didn't even know who had checked us in hotels, who paid. They did not even ask that at a rally mention that I'm the one who financed the hotel room. There was that spirit of self-sacrifice, of involvement, of engagement. We need to recapture that. Freedom has a cost. It comes with sacrifice. It comes with a mission of national service. It comes with a mission of engagement of the nation as a whole. It needs you as an individual. You don't need to be bought. You don't need to be enticed. Just start demanding the changes that are necessary. Start placing yourself in a good position to be a positive force in this. Start taking leadership. Leadership is not a title. When I went to Garden, I'd even resigned from my job. I didn't even have a job, apart from the part-time job I had as a lecturer at the Namibia Institute. I didn't have a title. I did not even belong to a political party. I was not a member of UNIP. And nobody, if you asked to list politicians, would have listed me among those politicians. So you as a citizens are in a position to participate, to be in the driving seat. And the driving seat is wherever you are. There is a driving seat for you to grab.
Oh, powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, share the broadcast. Share the broadcast. We are hosting Prince Akashambatwa Mbikusta Lewanika. He's a veteran politician. He's an academic. And, he was a founding member, literally one of the spearheads for multi-party democracy, as he's recounting. He served in President Rupia Banda. He served in the first cabinet in 1991-92, and he also later in his life served as Rupia Banda's special advisor. He has immense contribution. He is also an author. He's telling us about the current circumstances and, giving advice, especially to young people that may think they are facing the crisis we are facing for the first time. This is an existential crisis. I like what other young people are saying. It's independent 2.0. That, look, it's like we are at a phase where we need to get independence once again, and everyone has to be mobilized. So it doesn't have to be a partisan approach, and I think that's what Woaka is preaching here. I'm opening the lines. Please call and ask if you have any question for him. Let me play this video where Senior Chief Mwamba in Kasama has rejected the constitutional making process as we wait for your cause.
Ifwe nga fwe beekala kyala tukaane fye okutyatatula ekifo kya amendment. Leke after my elections nakiranda okutiira ati ife ali mu constitution ye government leeteka ali mu opposition. So immediately 2021 ero balina okukita constitution amendment ng'ekyali kya number 1. Panto napa kushita oppose ubuteeko n'ekyo balimu n'efirubo ifyo obuteeko bwa mulini. Muna ndokwe batero tuya kuma elections ero besobola ndi okutya tiyo constitution amendment. Kwena ine nga parliament fe kulubalirwandi ine ndekikaana katwishi mwebekala kyalo mwebeni bantu ine ndera nda pamutima wandi bati kabiri ine ndera ndokutira ati ine pamukumo wi ndi mfumu y'abantu pamukumo wine ndi mfumu.
Please hold on. Yeah, please hold on.
Bwana tabanangu chimwe chebo ichinga chapa kukumbata na pabwananyi tulina mikafinso tulese patu nono tuli abantu.
He was born on the 12th of April 1922 and died on the 26th of January 1980. Did you know he spoke fluent English, Bemba, Lozi, Namwanga, and Swahili? Did you know he served in the Northern Rhodesian government as Minister for Native Agriculture? Did you know he delivered the first speech by Zambia after her admittance into the United Nations? Did you know he influenced the change of dress code for Parliament to include traditional attire when he refused to wear a Western-style suit as per requirement? Did you know he represented Zambia at the state funeral service for Sir Winston Churchill, former British Prime Minister? Did you...
Okay, I think the calls are now coming in. Caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
This is JBG calling from Chongwe.
JBG, make your contribution. We are hosting Boa Kashambatwa.
Yeah, good evening, Aka.
Yes, please.
Good to have you people who have been seasoned the politicians, and you are there to give us guidance. I remember those days, although I was a bit young, but I was at least around 16 years old when people like Aka and the rest were fighting for multipartism. On his points, he said the problem which is there now with our current leaders is that everyone wants to be a leader. This is not you, Emmanuel Mwamba. It has to be no one else. Those are the things which we should get rid of. We are in this situation entangled in the issues of Jawinga and the party. It's because of selfishness, whereby some people wants to those positions and they can't let it go.
Thank you very much, my brother. let's keep our questions short. I think he's gotten your point. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Thanks, Ambassador Mwamba. It's Dr. David Kajila here in Canada.
Yes, Doc.
Thank you so much. Voaka, I just feel like we are dealing with royalty right now when it comes to people who have sacrificed for the nation. So I appreciate your wisdom. I appreciate all you've done for Zambia, especially for being a champion of democracy, having realized that we lived in the one-party state for so many years, and there was disgruntlement among us that we wanted a new dispensation. Unfortunately, things over the years haven't worked out exactly the way we envisioned. So I'd like to ask one question, and the question is simple. Can you tell us one thing that politicians in Zambia seem to repeatedly do, which has resulted in us not really achieving our goal and achieving our true independence? Is there one particular thing that politicians and us as citizens are guilty of, which you can say, if we rectify that, then perhaps we'll solve our problems, at least going forward? Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Dr. Kajila. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's take. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from. Mkwai.
Mkwai. Let me know. Chinsari kuno. After Shiva. Kale wanyika mwishana after Shiva.
Yo vale umfu.
Mkwai. When our fashi fin Valanda fin Muskangarangachi. Running quite up of a to me show quite to be different. Akakubalira po mchalo fin twikere mchalo chesucha Zambia. The twikere wino. Mulikwati dictatorship. Nomba kwali kukunu moku na yumfireko jivashiranda pa kwebati abantu tabafiro kwebati bachita protest pali pakupoka kwachi paper cha patriotic front ngamwalorekesha ba patriotic front bali sendo tampulo lufu masano lwakuya kukoti lero kukoti justice takwaba mmonepo bambiro kula kumakoti mirandusha aba PF isha kupoke chipani bashiposa vekumbali so chimoneka kwati ba government bali eba uli judge kwebati ngabayisa aba bantu ilabo kwa mmone ama issues bali so vere bamfwana ba mausampa na ba patriotic front ba Edgar Lungu lero nga ba koti tababomfwa ushabe kala chalo nga ukuchita protest lisamdi nangulo kuchita protest mulando abekala chalo nga bayimo kwebati bachite protest kairi nga ba kumakoti tabale bomfwa so abekala chalo nga bachita protest nde kusha ba shukuru bantu apo bambika lewanika kushe abekala chalo kuchita protest pali fintu wa government baikate chipepa cha patriotic front lisamdi because patriotic front ni big organization ya kwebati basata bali tushirire lero muntu mochabinga ewa ikata paper and ba government bale mu favor because fintu ni issue inono yakwebati kuti basaina pofe kuli ya judge kwebati ama issues yenu yapo lero bali ikatiriza yonse mfirera ngo kwebati balepo ababani no kwebati patriotic front kachita participate nomba fyonse epine fumina kuma Kenya fumina kuma Tanzania fya kwebati bayitikisha ba opposition because i political party ni big organization ai kwata abantu abengi sana abafurwa pali ikintu bachita and ichi niba government baikatapo akakulekeresha i bill 7 abekara chalo twalikana tatuifuaya abayifuaya bantu abanono abali mu UPND nombali shefu twingala tungulwa ne chalo efi.
Thank you.
Amaka bale ukutungulwa kwa bale bovya amaka nomba tefu batungulwe chalo efi na totera ba mwamba baranja tukawa.
Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Greetings, Bamwamba.
Yes,
greetings, Bamwamba. Kashambatwa, Kafwimbi here from Australia. I just want to do a very short message of praises. Kashambatwa, even in the 1990s, when we were in the university, we used to use your name as a swear, like to swear to God. If you wanted to say the truth, people would say Akashambatwa. Instead of saying praise God. If whatever you did and every people would say, and that Akashambatwa, we had the big Kelos, Peter Bonali, I know he's the late. People that once shot down and you led us into the revolution of UPND. You are such a truthful man, and we recognize your presence, your truth, and everything.
Thank you very much, Wakafwimbi. Thank you very much, Wakafwimbi, that your name was being used as a sense of truth. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Hello, Mwamba Mulishani.
Yondi Febwino.
Vo Akashambatwa, I know you're listening. How are you? We love you so much. We've heard a lot about you. We read a lot about you, and we're encouraged by how you get things through to us, how you explain things to us about the country and everything. But what I wanted to contribute was regarding Zambia. We are in a situation where we do not have enough academicians or people who would study the trend of the country. So, for instance, the way we sold our minerals, we could not project as a country to state where our copper prices was going to be, where the copper was going to be, and we hastily made those decisions to sell out, and the country lost out. So that's one part. Then on the other part is the way we select our leaders. If we had such wherewithal, I would put it, where you would know people who are contesting to be presidents, we should have a system that automatically just eliminates such bad people to come through. For instance, the current president, he showed so many signs. If we had that system that just sucks such people out, we wouldn't be in a situation where we are. So the hope is that when we get into maybe somebody who's much more reasonable as a leader, the first thing that we need, that person needs to do, is try and resolve the system, how the country is run and how it puts leaders across. So in a nutshell, it is how the system picks up leaders to come to govern. That's my share on this topic.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Maybe let me take the last caller, then we allow for Boaka to answer those about 5 questions. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Mkwai.
Good evening.
Boaka Shamba Tuamulumeleni.
Thank you, Hiki. Can hit you? Shangwe.
I just want to say, really, like the last caller talked of, I mean, we have minerals in Zambia, but look at how poor Zambia is. Really, we need people who are educated to be people who have been to school, have studied to rule this country. I think people are so sick and tired of trial and error. For example, look at the people who want to contest to be in government. Look at the quality of people who are in opposition. Look at the political parties. Are these people not? I mean, they have been in parliament. What have they done for their constitutions? I think we need people who, I think now this time is, what have you studied? What have you done? Not someone wanting to be a president so that his family can be rich. I think that time is finished. That time is gone. We are so sick and tired. This time, I think, I don't know how can you make it that you just form a group and then just ask these people, what grade did you even end in? What have you done, for you to be a president? Because it's like Vakashambatwa, you said, it's like someone wants to be a president so that he achieves something. And that achievement is just his family, his girlfriends, his children. This is what we have seen. But I mean, Zambia is so poor because of that type of thinking. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Well, we are so overwhelmed by so many calls. Maybe let me take just sort. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from, and be brief.
I'm calling from Lusaka. I'm Nelson Siame.
Nelson Siame.
Good evening, Honorable. Yes, sir.
Make your contributions quickly.
Honorable Akasambata Bigusta. Yes. Every time I see Akasambata Bigusta, I remember him in Kitwe, where I watched a game with him for a team from Egypt, where I was speaking Swahili. So again, I came and watched him on television when he was working for ceramics. He has been an honest man, truthful man. What he's speaking there, I think is giving a lot of sense. So you can continue to advise us as young men. That is very good. Honorable Emmanuel Mwamba, you are doing a great job. Thank you so much. Keep it up.
Thank you, Boaka. Someone says he was surprised that you speak Swahili. Boaka is a Pan-Africanist. So they were very touched that you could converse very well in Swahili. He's just not a nationalist, but he's also a Pan-Africanist. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Thank you, Ambassador Mwamba. Sinyangwe Dani here. I'm calling you from Canada.
Sinyangwe, make your contribution.
Thank you. Balewanika is a statesman. He's seen us through the UNIP government, the MMD government, and then the PF government and the UPND. These are people that know what it is to govern a country. My question to him is, does he have that audience with the current president? And then does he even advise the current president on the affairs of this country? Because such men like Balewanika, these are the people that we need to tap some knowledge from as a country, as a nation. He has got so much, a lot of knowledge about how to run this country. So we are so blessed to have people like him. But my question is, does he usually have an audience with our president? And then once he has that audience, what does he bring forward? Because you can even see from the callers that have called, most of the callers are not happy with the happenings of the state of our country today. So thank you, and Ambassador Mwamba, God bless you.
Thank you, Siame from Canada, who's asking if there's been an indulgence from the President of the Republic of Zambia to seek your advice, looking at the immense knowledge you have. Hello, caller. You are our last caller for this series, so that we can allow Boaka to answer.
Thank you very much, Honorable Emmanuel Mwamba. Good evening, senior citizen. And allow me to say Zambia is greater than all of us. Senior citizen, you fought for the independence that we have today, and this is the beginning of another decade. However, we have seen that anything that begins as it has started, it will end up something else. The rush to always change the constitution when we are drawing closer to the election are lessons that the current government have failed to learn. Otherwise, all we are saying is the people of Zambia depend now on the 156 parliamentarians, regardless of those that are nominated to parliament. But those that are elected, they should know that the lives of the 20 million Zambians solemnly rests upon their hands. And whatsoever will be corrected, submitted to the president and later on to parliament, it is mandatory on the parliamentarians to give Zambians that which they themselves would understand. Believe me, when it went to parliament, the constitution was rejected by parliamentarians who categorically put it that they did not understand the clauses themselves. So how are they going to understand the clauses now? It's something that God is watching over, and he knows who will betray the Zambians in any way. Therefore, we should always remain focused that Zambia is greater than all of us. 61 after independence is not a joke, and we should always pray that we have this peace, and this peace must continue, especially when we are being guided by senior citizens like you. Thank you very much. God bless Zambia.
Thank you. Let me bring Boaka. Boaka, you have a wide-ranging of questions. Just
yes,
tackle.
I'll rely
from
on your
Dr. David Kajila to Siami from Canada. You can proceed.
Yes, I'll rely on you to remind me. In fact, I'll start with Doc. He asked a very important question, that what are we doing repeatedly, which gets us to be in the same situation, problematic situation, they say. One of the things is that, and this is a big challenge, is that we have very often, if not all the time, succumbed to the temptation of piecemeal changes, minimal changes, in the hope that to be sorted out, the rest will be sorted out later. Ze mulikaboniwa kwa pata, fika isova kuntanshi. So we agreed in 91 to just change one clause, just to allow for political parties to be formed, in the hope that after that election, then we will revisit the constitution comprehensively. So I believe that that has been the case. I don't want to give all the examples that come to mind. In many cases, this hesitation to comprehensively perceive change and go after change makes us do little bits of changes. The second thing that we seem to do repeatedly, which has become almost our culture, is that somehow we change spectacles, glasses. When we are in opposition, we have these clear spectacles which make us see all the problems. After the election, we take them off. The things we criticize being done against us, once we are in power, we do them against others. This has been repeatedly done. It was the criticism against colonialism was so clear against group domination. Then after independence, we retained the Public Order Act, we retained the state of emergency, we retained the top-down governance system. And that, I think, is the second thing that we do. To answer Doc's question, what do we do which is we repeat and do the same and get us to where we are in the same problem this year as we were before? The third aspect, I take it from the other comments. I will just answer it bluntly. Almost without exception, all across Africa, in our traditional indigenous African governance system, the number one disqualification for leadership is desperation to want to be a leader. It's a disqualification. If you are looking for a village headman, you should avoid those guys who on every occasion say, I'm the one who should come, I'm the one who should be a village. Those disqualify themselves. This westernized colonial system of governance and this selection of leadership is built on a spirit which is contrary to that traditional African. We've accepted a selection system for leadership which is based on self-promotion, self-praise, almost bribery. Vote for me, I'll build you a road. All those are contrary to the real African indigenous qualities of leadership, which are servant leadership. They are service leadership. They are a leadership to do the people's will, not to buy people, not to scare people, not to entice people. Those are the three things that I think we need to re-examine. And we were discussing now the challenge among so-called opposition parties to try and consolidate themselves and maybe pick one team. What gets in the way of that is this spirit of self-promotion. In our traditional African, to find someone who says, I want to be a chief, one, they'll think he's mad. Two, is definitely disqualified, because those who know what leadership is about know that it costs to be a leader. It requires sacrifice to be a leader. It requires putting your personal and personal family affairs into secondary position to the group solution. If that is the leadership we want, the people we don't want in those leadership are these self-promotional leaders. I think I would say that in response to the other. Perhaps, Emmanuel, you can remind me of any other question that I
let me look at what could have been prominent. One caller wondered, I was excited that you actually speak Swahili, but I answered that for you. Siame from Canada says, as a senior citizen, you've guided very well on what should be our next independence, but he urges the MPs, the 156 of them, to help us stop that bill when it goes to Parliament, because President Hakainde Hichilema is determined to bully us through that process. But there is one question that came from South Africa, that we are a wealthy country with this mineral-rich country, but we have a poor people, and poverty is with us. How come we can't resolve that crisis?
Thank you. That is a very, I'm glad that you reminded me of that. The lady who mentioned that brought to my mind one of the lamentations I've been spreading around lately in looking at our political discourse and comparing it to the discourse that is happening elsewhere in Africa. Our political discourse seems so shallow, so unsubstantive. You are not hearing in the theater of our political debates in Zambia people discussing the same agenda that we are hearing coming from Burkina Faso or Namibia or Botswana over the decolonization demand for Africans to take control over our land and natural resources and be self-reliant, be second to nobody, be pushed around by nobody, be exploited by nobody, so that our discourse should deepen. In addition to that, you don't hear in our political discourse the Pan-African debates which are taking place elsewhere. And I think that I would urge our political leaders and our listeners and our citizens generally, as we interact with our political leaders, to urge them to discuss things in substance. Related to that is our participation in science and technology, our participation in global problem identification, global solution propositions. We cannot continue to be just recipients of the research of other people, recipients of the products of other people. You saw how they treated us as Africans over the what disease was there?
COVID-19.
That they come up with vaccines and monopolize them. And then we are busy begging that, no, give us some. Meanwhile, I noticed that in almost all these laboratories, all these places where these vaccines were being manufactured, these people, the Westerners, have picked African scientists. They are in those labs working for other people's agendas. Why are they not in labs which are in Africa? Where is our science and technology schools? We talk so much about free education. Our family has 2 community schools in Mungu and the Mungu areas. These things we call schools are a shame. You have a secondary school, even government ones. They don't even have the crude science lab we used to have in the 60s and 70s. They don't have a full-fledged biology lab. They don't have a full-fledged physics. They don't have a full-fledged chemistry lab, let alone full-fledged science and technology lab equipment. What is the use of you getting free education minus the quality, the subject matters that really matter? So that I believe that in our discourse in the political arena, we must deepen them. We must look for the quality rather than the quantity. There is another song which I like very much, which is called that a house is not a home. When there's nobody, I think I won't go over that. But a house, but from that I take the idea that this idea that any building becomes a clinic because you say so. After they commission these buildings, which they call clinics, you go inside them. They have no capacity to provide medical services. The things we call our hospitals, they don't even have full-fledged labs. I don't know about the other parts of the country, but I know that in Barosiland, there is no single full-fledged medical lab. People are having to send their blood samples to come to Lusaka for testing in some critical medical cases, 61 years after independence, because we are mistaking quantities without taking account of the quality. What is a hospital? A hospital is not just some building you call a hospital. It must have facilities of hospitals to do the jobs of medical services that is required. So another thing may be related to the first response I had, which we do repeatedly, is not look for quality and get blinded by quantities. The same with the statistics, that we are given statistics which have no meaning in our lives in economic terms. We have to look for questions, deeper questions, and we have to look for deeper answers from our political leaders in those other areas, so that when we tune in to our debates in this country and compared to the debates in Botswana or in Kenya or in Burkina Faso, we shouldn't be coming out as if we are second class. That, I think, is part of the challenge of leadership, to push for us to be first class. It's one of the key aspirations of the African freedom struggle, is to come to a point where Africans are second to none in every sector, economic, social, every sector. Because in the process of imperialism, in the process of colonialism, in the process of enslavement, our very humanity has been questioned. And therefore, part of the...
Thank you, Boaka. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Boaka. Viewers, we are hosting Prince Akashambatwa Mbikusta Lewanika, a veteran politician, founder of the MMD 1990-91. He's an academic, he's an author, and he's been very instrumental in the history of our country. Let me just take the last cause so that we can now release our senior citizen. Let me take the last 5 calls. So if you have a burning question, quickly call we for Honorable Waka, and then we can call it a day. Caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Mwamba, as usual, for having such a brilliant, powerful podcast. My name is Patrick Chilufya, calling from the UK.
Yes,
Boaka, Prince Boaka, thank you so much. You're not just a veteran politician, but you are a statesman. And there's so much wisdom with you, and you've got so much wisdom. But I've got just few points and a question, Boaka. You mentioned, I think I'm bringing back more or less Dr. Kajila's, my friend Dr. Kajila's question, but in a different way. You know, we keep on doing the same things. We vote presidents, they come in, they promise things, and then when they go there, they do things contrary. And we keep on doing that. I'll give you the best example. The Public Order Act. It was enacted by a colonial governor, Sir Arthur Benson, in the 1950s during the Federation. And it was enacted specifically to prevent African leaders, mostly that time Zank, from agitating for independence. Kaunda, Nkumbula, Kapwepwe, and them. And Kaunda vowed, because they were jailed, you know, when they decided to do things like contrary to what Arthur Benson was telling them. So he arrested them, they were jailed, you know. Kaunda vowed that he will never, you know, he will abolish that law. Fast forward, Kaunda used the same law to jail Kapwepwe for 77 days in Mongo. Then FDJ came in, vowed it. He used it to arrest Kaunda, and on and on. And presidents will come and say we'll fight corruption. The next thing, they're involved in corruption. And so the problem, Aka, is, are we choosing, is it the problem with us or the people we choose? Or because if the people we choose are wrong, we are choosing them from amongst us, then which means there's something wrong about us Zambians. You know, there's something seriously wrong. We need to change our mindset. We need to choose leaders and not thieves. And then fast forward by Aka, the next point I wanted to make by Aka. We are having a situation in our country where if we are not careful, our country will have so many problems. And we have the same situation under Chiluba. You know, changing the constitution last minute before the election. Lungu wanted to do it, and these guys they want to do it. Now, Aka, not only that, there's so many other problems like tribalism and other things. Aka, this is serious, and so many political parties who, you know, people are just forming political parties. Some of them, they're not even leaders. So, Aka, you are statesmen who helped in 1991 to usher in Chiluba. You guys were selfless. Can you people form some sort of a statesman committee or some sort of like what our Oasis forum did in 1991 and help to identify a credible leader? A leader who unifies Zambia, somebody will think this guy is gonna, you know, because what Zambia needs is a transformational change, not just change. That change that should lead to a paradigm shift. And the other thing, Aka, you're an economist and you understand what extractive institutions mean. We keep on repeating the same politicians who have been stealing, they recycle them, they come back. And even now, those politicians who just want to recycle, those extractive institutions, which only allows the elite to benefit. That's why we are the poorest country in the world. And the fourth, unequal, because we keep on, those extractive institutions are so persistent that they keep on coming and they become a vicious cycle. How do we stop that cycle?
Thank you much, Rufia. Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Yes, caller.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
God loves you, Honorable Mwamba.
Thank you.
God loves you. You are a statesman, and may God bless you. Thank you for the insight. I have a question for you, Honorable Aka. What is the meaning of strategic ambiguity? What's the meaning of strategic ambiguity? Thank you, Mwamba. Let him explain to us.
Oh, okay. Someone has an academic question for you. Strategic ambiguity, he said.
Ambiguity. What does it?
Yeah. Let me take this caller. Let's hear what he has to say. Callers, quickly call so that we can wind up the program. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Okay, so I'll remain anonymous. I'm calling from Canada.
Okay, Canada, anonymous, make your contribution.
Okay, thank you. And hello, Bikosita. You were part of an administration. We didn't do so well on some of the issues that you are actually raising. And I just wanted to find out what challenges did you face that hindered you from not advancing some of these brilliant ideas that you're sharing? For example, in terms of research, having proper labs, even from your province where you come from the Western province, etc. and etc. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So 3 to go. We just get now 2 callers. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Emkwaiba Munkonge.
Walishani abafyashi baaka twaliwo mufasana ama programs yabo 3 hours Radio Phoenix tuisura sana mano. Ine the folks that first contribute pa no kuipusha ko question mu palast. Lenga na konka sana abafyashi resali mpala mwaliwo mbasana. Movement yenu tayaona ikawo. Na ino nshitaichirire bombofuna landire efyo. After bakaunda baimwe mutivu mwachita take over. Mwera wabakaunda walishala. Tuambo okuikalira mu democracy. Nokumone fingi futawale muno kwa certificate. Ma offices ayalife kulusaka yasarangana mpangayo nse ama isosere yaisa ba vigilant bapwa. Lero even democracy tuambo kusita experience ama problems yasanga mu democracy. Taturekana. Again, ba Patriotic Front basa isaba poka kuri ba MMD twalisa mona idea ba Patriotic Front. Fyambo kumoneka balefu okukula ichalo bakule kwemisebo twali mona ko mwera wa Patriotic Front although nchimuli kwa ma problems. Nomba pali binonshita pali 4 years. Ya leta if ya TK ya movement enta ilamba before charengera tumukwatera movement mula ndo afifya mbiro kutikapa. So kulingana na emwe bafyashi mweba chimfishe chira chinama chako na ora democracy opo muchiri shishibe nga kuti chaba changuka ilo ba politician ababambi balira boko mwafuma epo emopo muchiri usheni shitetumwa ikalira ko panshi naba nenu bambi abachiripo abapemire ko mwela wa kuli ba kaunda okwisa mu democracy ba mayo ba inonge kuliko nabambi oro imbi question yo ndefu kwipusha bushe soli nangonala barumbuleshina bushe bataba kavindere oro mwale panga movement ya democracy pamulando aba kaunda baletere one party state. Ushoko bali na mtabaliko. Nombango oko bali. If you pay 4 years, ababa government, if you pay abafunye balete one party state. Kuchinja olupapuro. Ushebena batata tekibakwate amano yakusitako encourage ba government abalipo bantu ichalo balefa bakiwekeshe before 1972 iliamwa mwenye okwebati awo ichalo tefo chifure chabe fititi be one party state mwafunyapo mwalibombere sana na lesami afwa na democracy twambo kuchita enjoy during democracy mwalela ndamwa litusira sana amano tamwale tina na nguli bakateka bakiruba tabamibikire mu kifungo basa tabalera bali ba minister bati balera ndo kuchira na president bati mwale batina mwalera nda bonse mwalera nda mule chinjanyo okulanda.
Thank you Wamungonge again to send kona wambi. Thank you very much for that question. Let me take the last caller so that we allow Boaka to answer. Hello caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
All right. Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening.
Yes, I'm Foot Soldier.
Yes, Foot Soldier.
Oh, thank you very much. First of all, let me recommend you for just such a wonderful program that you have been bringing.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. You see, in our country, things are not okay. Let us not pretend. And when you bring people like Akasha Nambatwalimi Salewanika, those are the people that we want to heal this country. So I've got just a few questions for Akasha Mbatwa. For what is happening in the country? Have we ever tried with that team that fought for the democracy in 1991, sat down, that is our Republican president, to just advise him on how to handle this country? Because the country is at pain, just to speak the truth. And I so fear that most of the hearts of Zambians are growing cold. And what is happening in Tanzania, it can happen now. Okay, we are desperate. Okay, so the other issue also, how are you looking at the way the tribalism issue in Zambia? How are we going to heal? Okay, then the other issue also, where are your friends so that you sit down, you look at how you can heal this country, how you can mobilize people that they can come and fight for the good cause, so that at least to remove this regime. This regime is very much evil. Not only that, look at what they are doing to the oppositions, incarcerating people that we send in parliament to speak for us. Now, if we talk position in parliament, how are we going to be treated?
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much. I think you've made your point. Thank you very much. Waka, let me bring you. There is a burden Zambians are placing on you. Number one, that as a senior statesman, what are you doing? Are you advising President Hakainde Hichilema? I don't know how people want you to advise President Hakainde Hichilema. He must seek people like you. But have you been approached? Are people like President Hakainde looking up to you, inviting you to give them advice? I think there is this burden in all the callers where they are placing it, that is something you must do. You did it in 1991. I don't know if they want you to replicate the same issue. Let's start with that as the first one before we go to the other callers.
Thank you very, very much. I hope the people I've been discussing with in the last week while I've been in Lusaka are also listening to your the questions from your callers, urging us to organize ourselves and see what we can do to assist. I'm a little optimistic from the contacts I've had of late that key people are thinking the same, that there is need for intervention, there is need for guidance in the political arena. So I think it's work in progress, but it's work in progress that is really urgent because we don't have time. The other thing that has come to mind from your remarks is something I've observed, that this mixture of party politics and national governance is really the culprit. I've had occasion to send advice to some of our national political leaders at the very top that when they visit an area such as Mungu, they should not restrict their contacts to the civil servants who fear them, the party cadres who are begging from them. They should always break away, provide space to interact with people who are not their party members, people who are not partisan, people who are not eating from their plate. I lament the amount of potential, that wealth of wisdom that we waste. I know that in many of our provincial centers, there are many retirees. Maybe in their era they were assistant secretary, and those were top jobs then. And simply because they are not partisan, they don't run to you at the airport, they are not begging you, they are not asking for jobs. Our national political leaders hardly have time for those. They do have time to meet traditional leaders, but their interaction with our traditional leaders leaves much to be desired. Underneath it all, apart from election time when even presidential candidates knew before village headmen, they are very condescending. We observed an obstacle, was it 4 weeks ago, when the president called a large number of our traditional leaders to one place and was telling them when to sit down, when to stand up, when to sing, when not to sing. He was even teaching them slogans. That means really disrespecting another type of our leadership, which should be respected by other types of leadership. So it means that when you interact, even with the traditional leaders, you are really not interacting respectfully. You are not interacting with independent people or people you respect. You are soliciting an independent view or wisdom or suggestion, because they've basically been legislated out of official authority in our constitution. So those are some of the issues that lie back. But I appreciate the notion, the message we are getting from your questioner, that there is need for those who are non-partisan, who are retired, to also do their responsibility, contact these would-be leaders of ours and try to see what assistance they have. As I say, I'm quite optimistic that something is being done in that direction, and I hope that our would-be political leaders will welcome invitations from groups such as those that are being described. Many of them whom I've met are very eager. They are not going to come to your rally, but they may invite you to visit them and meet with them and consult with them as much as the time will allow. So I'm optimistic that that sentiment is well taken, and I'm hoping others who are listening that the messages being sent to me are also being sent to others who themselves will know who they are. In the case of advising the president, I'm not the only one, but I can say without fear of contradiction, there is absolutely no citizen who will refuse an opportunity to share their thoughts with the sitting president if they are invited, if they are provided for, and if the atmosphere is right. It will not be at rallies, it will not be in public, it has to be facilitated. I think our access to our presidents is not as much as it used to be, because so much of their activities is partisan and is electioneering. You are either for me or you are on the path to being treasonous. So the environment is not very good, but the willingness of myself and I'm sure others is there to have a free discussion and to put forward our ideas, whether it's when we are in Lusaka or whenever they visit these provincial centers, the district centers. There are many retired people who have a lot of experience and who have much to say, who don't have the opportunity to speak to power. And they are not your political opponents in that sense, but they are available. And I think that that message, I'm glad it has come from your listeners.
One caller cited
the
Honorable Enoch Kabindele that he seems active with the president, and they were now wondering where he was during the one-party state, because they are saying if he was there, did he help fight the multi-party state? Because the caller was very worried that we seem to be regressing to one-party state and the voices are silent, and is asking you to reawaken the voices of others that lived under the one-party state and then agitated this fundamental change. Walker, I would like to thank you.
Yes,
so
I think
much
it's related to the issue we have said that
you found
when we are in
opportunity.
opposition, we see things we don't see afterwards.
Yeah. I want you now to give us closing remarks and advice and guidance as we go towards, to next year's election.
My advice is for our citizens to wake up and take charge, do something positive. Don't look for others to lead you, be leaders where you are. And also, please, Zambia, no African countries is looking for one messiah. We have a constitution which is modeled on one messianic person. And that's the constitution we have to change. But even before we change it, we must seek team leadership. This one-man leadership is part of our problem. The problems that we face require a maximum number of us to participate in problem identification, solution proposition, and solution enactment. In order to have maximum contribution from our people, we must have leadership which is on a team base. Let me also take my last, that the sort of leadership that we want is a leadership with team spirit, a team-spirited leadership. That was one of the founding slogans and themes of the African National Congress at its founding in 1948. I think we should hear that call, that we need team leadership. We don't need single messiahs to look for. And our people must take responsibility. And don't pressurize your leaders to be buying you. Because if someone is prepared to bribe the electorate, it means when they get into power, they will be available to be bribed by contractors, by anybody else. And failure to being bribed, they will be tempted to steal and be corrupt. So the money mongering in our politics, we should watch out for it. We should avoid it. We should, whoever you see who is money mongering is actually demonstrating to you their unsuitability for leadership.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm so grateful, Boaka. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. And, you know, this place is home again. The next time you are in Lusaka, please alert us so that we can bring you back. Because the evolution of issues requires that, you know, voices like yours of senior leaders with so much experience and the wealth of knowledge that you have, that you constantly guide the country. And I'm glad that you've always been available for this platform. God bless you and travel safely. Kwamongo, I miss the place, you know. I loved it when I saved there.
Thank you very, very much. And
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're hosting Prince Akashambatwa Mbikusta Lewanika. He's a renowned politician, veteran politician, is also an academic and author, and was a founding member of the MMD in 1991. Until we have another guest, we have special guests that have been lined up. Please look forward to this broadcast. God bless you. We'll see you then.
Tabanangu chimwe chebo ichingatira pa kukumbatana pa bwananyina tuyinamika finso tulolese patu nono tuli abantu.
He was born on the 12th of April 1922 and died on the 26th of January 1980. Did you know he spoke fluent English, Bemba, Lozi, Namwanga, and Swahili? Did you know he served in the Northern Rhodesian government as Minister for Native Agriculture? Did you know he delivered the first speech by Zambia after her admittance into the United Nations? Did you know he influenced the change of dress code for Parliament to include traditional attire when he refused to wear a Western-style suit as per requirement? Did you know he represented Zambia at the state funeral service for Sir Winston Churchill, former British Prime Minister? Did you know, as Vice President, he also held the additional portfolio of Minister of Finance? Did you know that while in opposition, he won a parliamentary seat in Mufulira without campaigning, as he was barred from doing so? Did you know that he authored 6 books, played the guitar, was an avid tennis player, and studied in India? This April 2022, Simon
Kwenyu ndemwe chabe mabanja ona njala mkomo ndalama zonse mutumbalano masukwa kuchuluka pa mutupatu. Time is up, time is up. Kwenyu not enough. Time is up. For your lies and bluff. Time is up, time is up. Kwenyu not enough. Time is up. For your lies and bluff. Kani zanu ndizo panda pindu. Anakulira miseu mwatu. Tikufuna chilengedwe chato pano. Osati mapocket anu opindika ndalama. Listen to the cries, they're louder than your lies. You can't silence the truth. It's time for the youth. Time is up, time is up. Kwenyu is not enough. Time is up. For your lies and bluff. Time is up, time is up. Kwenyu not enough. Time is up. For your lies and bluff. We rise, we stand, we fight together for the children, for a better forever. When you kunata pano, we take the rain. Tikonza jiko.